Hello and welcome back to Geek and Speak, the Geek and Seek podcast. Today we are doing part 4 of 5 of our tier list for EDHRec's top 100 commanders. We've been hitting this out most episodes for the last few weeks. We'll have one more to do. Not going to hit it by the end of the year. It'll be our first or second episode we do next year, but we are finally almost through all top 100 commanders according to EDHRec, throwing them into an internet-friendly tier list. So we'll be hitting another 20 today. This will be our second to last time doing that. Joined with me today is Preston. How's it going, Preston?
Going pretty good. We've got a couple interesting ones to talk about today, I feel like.
Absolutely. And then we also have Jason with us today. How's it going, Jason? Repping your Lions again, as always.
Always. It's going pretty good. I'll make this short and sweet. Lions are number one, and I'm feeling good about myself. I hope you guys are doing wonderful.
Heck yeah, man. And I am your host, Morgan. I'm also doing just fancy schmancy. I'm finishing up the Christmas episode of our Commander gameplay series. So if you're not subscribed, become subscribed so you can see it. This is our third year doing a Christmas episode. They're always one of our favorite episodes. I feel like this one is kind of up there as well. It was a good time. That's coming out next Friday. Not this Friday, next Friday. So come back for that. And then also I have baby number 2 due in like around that same time. So that'll be a busy week for me, I'm sure. But yeah, good stuff here as we're gearing up for the holiday season. If you would like to do all of the YouTube algorithm stuff, that really helps out the show. That being liking the video, sharing it with a friend, leaving helpful comments, checking out videos you haven't seen before. Did I say subscribe? Become subscribed if you're not already. All that stuff really helps the channel out. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can head over to patreon.com/geekandseek YouTube. All right. Favorite comment of the week. This is actually from a couple weeks ago, from one of the episodes where we were doing this tier list and we were talking about Feather. Preston, being our Feather aficionado here in the chat, do you want to take this comment of the week for me?
Yeah, I can hit it. It's from Equivocat, I think is how you want to pronounce that. And they wanted to point out if you wanted to try a fun variety of Feather, you could play it as a Stuffy Doll deck. You cram every version of the Stuffy Doll creatures in Boros, and you burn your creatures for value every turn. And then maybe murder the table in on Blasphemous Act. Which, yeah, that is a fun way you can try to play that commander.
I am kind of down for that. I mean, I think do you remember what we had Feather at? I feel like we were high on it. Do you remember what Feather was?
I think in the A's, maybe B, but I think we all liked it.
Yeah, that sounds right. I remember Jason was a little lower on it just because he felt like it was a little high power, but that's what Jewel thinks about that.
That was just like, Jewel agrees with me. She's like, yeah, it's BS. See?
You're just a hater.
Is just a hater, that Jewel. All right, let's head into the 20 commanders that we are talking about today. We are nearing the end of the list, guys, but at the top of EDHRec here, we have commanders number 40 through 21 that we're going to be hitting today. Jason, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Sure thing. So, whenever this loads. First up, we have Crick, Son of Yawgmoth. It is 4 and 3 Phyrexian black for a legendary creature horror minion. He's a 2/2 with lifelink, and it says for each black mana in a cost, you may pay 2 life rather than pay that mana. Whenever you cast a black spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Crick, Son of Yawgmoth. So as a commander, it turns all of your black mana into Phyrexian mana, so you could just basically pay life for a lot of your spells, instead of having to pay a bunch of mana. And then you get a payoff from Crick for playing all those spells. You're going to make Crick bigger and, potentially swing somebody out with commander damage, or at the very least be able to maintain a solid life total because you're going to make him pretty big and he's got lifelink, so you could hold on to that life throughout the game. So I gave it a C. Morgan also gave it a C. Preston, a little bit lower on this, gave it a D. I think Crick is a fun mono-black card to play, but I think that it has a bit too powerful of an ability for it to be a super fun casual commander. And I think that you're just going to find yourself building a lot of like really, really strong, overpowering mono black Crick decks. So that's kind of why I gave it a C. But it is still fun to play, so I'm not quite as low on it as Preston is.
Yeah. As someone who plays Crick, I have a Crick deck. I still gave it a C because I agree that it's just kind of strong. It's what Grizzlebrand is for card draw. That's what Crick is for mana. Like, it's just insane. Like, you don't care that you're losing a bunch of life because you're getting so far ahead so fast. And my Crick deck is a life swap deck. I've actually played it on the show. You can go check that episode out. And even then, it's like I'm playing all these like jankety life swap cards that aren't very good. And it still just feels like really oppressive just because this commander is so good at giving you so much advantage really fast. So, and that's not what most people are doing. Most people are doing good stuff piles or combos or stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is just one of those ones where it's very easy to run away with the game super fast, even if you try to build a fair version. Like, making all of your stuff free or close to it is just oppressive in most play groups.
Yeah.
It was.
Go ahead, Jason.
I was just gonna say it was almost enough for me to bump it up to a B because there is a Post Malone version of this card.
There is a Post Malone version of it, which I was kind of sad about not getting. But then I had a fan at MagicCon gift me the Judge foil promo version of it, which is super, super cool. It's a nice way for me to upgrade the one I had. So that was nice. But anyways, Crick, go in here and see. Not starting off our tier list very strong. But what do we have next, Preston?
Next up, we have Brea, Ethereum Shaper. For one of every color except for green, you get a 4/4 artifact creature human. When she enters, you create 2 blue Thop 1/1 Blopter.
Blopter? Words.
When she enters, you create 2 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying, and then she has 2 generic, sacrifice 2 artifacts, and choose 1. Brea deals 3 damage to target player. Target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn, or you gain 5 life. We all gave it a B. For me personally, this is one of those ones where, like, you could probably build a fun version of it, but I feel like most people are just going to kind of do good stuff artifacts, and I don't know how good it is anymore, but I knew for a long time this was a pretty powerful commander.
Yeah. I feel like for the most part, it's just good stuff artifacts, and it's in the right colors for that. So it's like just kind of boring. And I don't necessarily think it's overpowered per se. Like I used to have it as a commander for a Thopter Typal deck, which was really funny. But it was also the commander for my CEDH deck because it has combo potential as well. So that's where, if I was going to knock it lower, it's for that. It's for the combo potential. But I do agree that a lot of the times it's just like, whatever. It's just like good stuff artifact piles, and just artifact decks are really strong. And as far as artifact commanders go, there are plenty of cool options. I just don't think this is one of the more interesting ones, but it's fine.
I think you can do a lot of interesting stuff with it, but I think that the combo potential is it's too much of a feel bad loss to be at a game where someone plays Brea and just combos off really fast. I can't put it at A for that, but because of how versatile it is, I don't think that it's as bad most like all the time, because you can build fun and fair versions of this deck.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go ahead and throw Brea up here in B. B for Brea. Excuse me. Next up, we have Urtet, Remnant of Memnarch. This is a 3-mana 2/2 Mer legendary artifact creature. But it's actually a 5-color commander. We'll get to that. Whenever you cast a Mer spell, you create a 1/1 colorless Mer artifact creature token. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you untap each Mer you control, and then you can pay Wooburg, tap it to put 3 +1/+1 counters on each Mer you control. Activate only during your turn. This reads as like, if you just want to play your dorky little Mers, this is a 5-color option for you, because I know there's like those ones from like I think it was like original Mirrodin or something, where there's all the mana dork ones, and then there's a handful of other ones that are artifacty based or mana dorks and stuff like that. So it's a way to like give all of your mana dorks the opportunity to close out the game in an artifact form, which sounds fun until you realize that you can also just play this with changelings, and a lot of those are just generically powerful. It's an artifact deck, so there's a lot of just like untappy, unfair, combo-y synergies. So, and also, I don't think that every archetype just needs a 5-color commander because they can. So I gave it a C. Jason gave it a B. He's a little bit higher up on it than me. And then Preston somehow gave it an S. So where do we go from here, boys?
I thought it averaged out to about a B. I think that's where you would put it.
We could say top of B. I think that's fine. But like, how'd you end up with an S?
I know not every creature type needs a 5-color commander, but I'm actually glad mirrors have one because you can play all 5 of the mana dork ones, and those are like the mirrors. Like those are the ones everyone knows. And I don't know, it's just a fun creature type to have a commander for. And yeah, it can be a little broken, but if you beat me down with an army of 1/1 mirrors who are mana dorks, I can't be too mad at that.
Oh, they won't be 1/1s though, because we'll combo off and we'll get to do that ability multiple times because artifact decks just accidentally have combos in them. But you're a little bit higher on it than me, Jason.
Yeah, so I like this card because first of all, it's mirrored, so it's just fun. It's just interesting. It's not like dragons or elves or vampires or something, that we've gotten a ton of. So I thought that was cool. But then I also, the first time I saw this card, I was like, this is a perfect deck that the card Conspiracy slots into. So Conspiracy, for those of you that don't know, it's a 5-mana enchantment, 3 and 2 black, and it says as it comes into play, choose a creature type, and creature cards you own that aren't in play, creature spells you control, and creatures you control, creature spells you control and creatures you control are the chosen type. It's an older card, so it's worded weird, but basically like creatures that you're casting are the chosen type too. So you could just like put this out there, and then everything is a mirror.
Yeah, there's a few cards that are like that. Like there's also an artifact that does that from like Kaldheim or something. Like there's a few cards that can do that, which is kind of funny. Like just play some like generically good artifact payoff stuff like Urza, and then if you get that down, then it's like, oh, Urza is also now a mirror,
Yeah, it's just fun. I think you could do fun stuff with it like that. I didn't really think too much about the combo potential, although that is there. I just think, it's mirrors, dude. It's got to be a good time.
All right, well, you guys can enjoy your 5-color piles. We'll go ahead and put Urtet here at the top of B. All right, Jason, what do we got next?
Next up, we got a doozy. We got a Traxa Grand Unifier. This is a 7-mana commander. It's 3, a green, a white, a blue, and a black. It's a 7/7 Phyrexian Angel with flying, vigilance, death touch, and lifelink. And then it says, when a Traxa Grand Unifier enters the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each card type, you may put a card of that type from among the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. It's an ETB effect, and it's in white. So, white and blue. So that's the flicker colors. So you could just do that instead of having to pay a bunch of mana into it every single time. So the 3 of us all gave it a B, actually. We're all pretty decently high on this card. Not the most exciting. I shouldn't say that. Not the most,
It's not the most unique. It's not the most unique.
I mean, I think that it has a very Niv Mizzet feel to it. That Niv Mizzet,
the 5-color one.
Yes, the 5-color Niv Mizzet. It feels like that, but it's 4 colors. I don't know. I thought that this card looked really cool when it first came out, and then as time went on, I was like, oh wait, this card is kind of busted.
Yeah, it's the number 1 reanimator target in Constructed.
Yeah,
like, I think
ruined
across
a couple
all
of the other
formats.
formats.
Yeah, across I think all formats, it's like the reanimator target, which also sucks because it's still standard legal for a little bit longer. I think it's fine. That's why I gave it a B. I think it's like not the most interesting. I think the most interesting thing you can do with it. I did like Jason's idea of blinking it because you are in the right colors for it, but I do like the idea of like you're trying to intentionally balance out your card types. So you try to keep it semi decently balanced between your planeswalkers, your artifacts, your enchantments. It's going to force you to play battles, which a lot of people don't play battles, which is kind of fun. To get max value, and then you could kind of balance that out better if you play like cards that hit multiple types. Like there's enchantment creatures, there's artifact creatures. There's things that you can do to. So I think that's like the most interesting thing you can do. And then even then though, it's just a really big creature that is a threat that's going to draw you some cards, and like it's kind of cool. But also 60 card has kind of ruined this card for me in a lot of ways, so I just feel like it's fine. It's just me. It's not the most interesting thing in the world to me.
Yeah, I think there's fun ways to build it, but it can also just become one of those broken good stuff piles, so I balance it out myself for a B.
Real quick. I forgot to do that.
Oh, you silly goose.
I know.
If it makes you feel any better, Jason, I put the wrong attracts on the tier list. So we're going to look at other attracts.
That's so funny. That's not where that Atraxa goes, just so everybody knows. That Atraxa goes slower.
We'll come back. We'll come back to that in part 5, the final conclusion. We will be talking about that Atraxa, but I loaded up the wrong one for the tier list. That's fine. I probably could fix it, but I'm not going to. What do we got next, Preston?
All right, next up we have Urza, Chief Artificer. For 3, a white, a blue, and a black, you have a 4/5 human Artificer. Affinity for artifact creatures. The spell costs 1 less for all the artifact creatures you control. Artifact creatures you control have menace. And at the beginning of your end step, you create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. You and I gave it an A, Morgan, and Jason gave it a B. Artifact creatures. It's just an artifact creature deck. Pretty good one. Definitely more fair than the other Urza. It's all right.
I like that it specifically puts you in the direction of creatures, because one of my complaints about like artifact decks, enchantment decks, is a lot of the times they're kind of spinning their wheels and they're either going for some kind of combo or they're just kind of dirtling for value and they're not sure what their win con is. They'll get there when they get there. Specifically saying play creatures. And then while you're doing that, it's also giving you big creatures and incentivizing combat with giving them menace. I actually like that it pushes you in that direction because it's putting you in the red. It's keeping the game moving. I just like that. Also noteworthy, because it has affinity for artifact creatures, that also means that sometimes it's going to be able to like get around commander tax a little bit, which is also kind of nice. Helps you get back in there a little bit. So, is it my favorite artifact commander? Probably not. But I also like Esper decks too, and it incentivizes combat. So I'm pretty high on it. I gave it an A.
I had to give it a B because one of the point that you just made, Morgan, there are so many just cheap artifact creatures that you can just play and basically never have to pay for commander tax when you play this. If you've built a deck. If you've built a deck in that way and you're able to consistently be putting out these really cheap artifact creatures, you'll never have to pay commander tax, and that can get really annoying. The other thing about it is this card, basically in every single deck that you're gonna see where this is the commander, Blightsteel is a win con, and I play Blightsteel. I don't necessarily have a problem with Blightsteel, but playing against a deck where Blightsteel is what's gonna kill you every single time, it's just not interesting. It's not fun. And I don't, because like it's really hard to argue against putting Blightsteel in this deck. So I had to move it down for that. That's why I'm at a B and not quite at an A.
I suppose that's fair, except Blightsteel also has trample, so like I don't know if the menace it's like that important, but I do agree that like if you're playing artifact creatures, why wouldn't you play Blightsteel? So I can get behind that logic. We'll still end up with Urza here in the A tier. All right, next up, we have a partner pair. I believe this is the first partner pair we've had on this series, but this pairing goes really well together because it's from a precon and people love it. This is Sam and Frodo from Lord of the Rings. These are the face commanders of the Food and Fellowship precon from Lord of the Rings. So Sam, loyal attendant, is for 1, a green and a white halfling peasant that partners with Frodo. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you create a food and activate abilities of food you control cost 1 less to activate. And then Frodo is for a white and a black. It's a 1/3 halfling scout that partners with Sam with vigilance. And whenever Frodo attacks, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, the ring tempts you. 3 life is how much you gain from sacrificing a food token. And then if Frodo is your ring bearer and the ring has tempted you 2 or more times this game, you draw a card. So the ring tempts you is kind of an awkward mechanic that I don't really like, but I do like how well these work together. Frodo's getting in for some damage, is giving you some value with drawing some cards. Sam is making your foods cheaper to sacrifice. It is a food deck. I really like these decks and commanders that let you take these like really niche things to play with. Like food tokens, not very good. But with the support you're getting from these little guys, I think it's actually pretty spicy. So, oh wow, we got A's across the board. How about that?
Dude, it's Sam and Frodo. You can't give them anything less than an A. They destroyed the ring.
Like, they do get cool points just for being Lord of the Rings.
They kneel to no one, dude.
I think they're a strong pair without being too strong, and Lord of the Rings is awesome.
Hell yeah! Not much else. Yeah, not much else to say about that. We can comfortably put Sam and Frodo at the top of A. All right, what do we got next, Jason?
Next up, we have Niv Mizzet Perun. So this is 3 blue, 3 red, and it says this spell can't be countered. It is a dragon wizard that has flying. It's a 5/5, and it says whenever you draw a card, Niv Mizzet Perun deals 1 damage to any target. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, you draw a card. So, Morgan and I gave this a B. Preston gave it a C. There is some combo potential with this Niv Mizzet. There's not as much combo potential as there is with other Niv Mizzets. I think this one combos with the Niv Mizzet that just came out in... is it Foundations? Did it come out in Foundations?
I think it comes with that, but more notably, this combos with like Curiosity and cards like that. So what? Like you draw the card, you deal the damage, you deal the damage, you draw the card.
I was thinking Niv Mizzet the Firemind, but I guess it also combos with that card.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think that would be like the slide against Niv Mizzet Perun is like if you don't like combos, like even if you don't play the combo in your deck, like people know that the combo exists. Like that's a semi-popular combo, and people might just be like, yeah, but I'm gonna kill you anyways because you might have the combo, even if you don't. But it is a dragon, so I think it's still in the 99 of my dragon deck, just because like it's a cool guy, and I have some instances and sorceries in the deck. But if you're playing Spellslinger, I actually really like this as an option. It keeps your hand full, and you're dealing some damage along the way while you're dirtling, which is nice. We like dealing damage. It keeps the game moving. So I think it's an okay dragon. I think it's an okay Spellslinger deck. Yeah, I think it's just fine. That casting cost, though, man. Holy crap.
Thank God it's only 2 colors. One other thing I wanted to say is building this deck around cantrips is really fun, really powerful.
Yeah.
Because you're not even necessarily like going infinite, but you're just doing so much every turn because it's just like play cantrip, draw a card because of Niv Mizzet, deal 2 damage to people. Like, what?
Yeah, so why were you a little bit lower on it, Preston?
My main thing is, like, maybe this is just me, but if I was going through the effort of getting through that awful casting cost, I'm doing the combo. And I just don't find that combo very fun. Like, it's very hard to justify messing around with this casting cost if you're not also running the combos with it. Because that's just so awkward. Especially because you're not playing green.
You are on hard mode. You are having to like play all the duels. Yeah, it's a little sus.
I mean, red has a decent amount of ritual effects to get that 3 red. This is
Okay, so I'm gonna mana geyser and have all the red mana in the world, but now I won't have any blue.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
But no, I think that it's 2 colors. Like, if by the time that you get, first of all, I don't necessarily think that the goal of this is to like play Niv Mizzet as soon as possible, because I think you want to have a little bit more gas in your hand. That way, you, as soon as Niv Mizzet hits the table, you can start going crazy. Because if Niv Mizzet hits the table and you only played like 2 things and he can't really do a whole lot, somebody could destroy him before you get a lot of value out of him, and now you have to pay 8. So
I could see that maybe that's true. Like if you're comboing, then you wait till you find the combo piece and then you play Niv. But I think that if you're just playing it quote unquote fairly, I think you just play it out as fast as you can, because you want to be gaining your value off of your cantrips and your instants and sorceries, and he's going to refill your hand. So I think if you're playing it fairly, you want it out as early as possible.
Well, I would still say that I think because it's 2 colors, the casting cost is not that bad.
All right, man. Well, we'll go ahead and put Niv Mizzet here in B. Preston, what do we got next?
Right, next up, we have Henzi Toolbox Tori for a black, a red, and a green 3/3 Devil Rogue. Each creature spell you cast with mana value 4 or greater has Blitz. The Blitz cost is equal to its mana cost. You may choose to cast that spell for its Blitz cost. If you do, it gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. And then Blitz cost, cast 1 less for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. Let's see. We all gave it a B, except I gave it an A.
I could almost give it an A. Because, okay, do you guys remember, I've played it on the show, the deck I played on the Companions episode, that's every card is a creature. It's 4 color, and I'm on a personal crusade to cut colors out of my deck so I can play more cool cards. And I've thought about cutting white out of that deck and running this as the commander. But I think that because if I'm wanting to get value out of the Blitz, it would make me change too much of my 99 other than just cutting white, adding other cool cards in these colors. So I haven't done it because it would be too much work, I think. But like, if you just want like good value creatures, this is a cool option. The reason it's a B for me is like, there's so many other just like big dumb creature decks. So I don't know. I do like the idea that like there's certain sacrifice loops that you could do with Henzi that aren't that impossible. So you could get the Blitz cost pretty low. So that seems like a funny option. And you are in Jund, so you have the ability to do that. But yeah, if you're just playing big creature decks, there's other options.
It doesn't excite me. Like you said, there's a lot better big creature options out there. And I mean, it feels like you have to do so much just to make your creatures cost 2 less. I don't know. I'm not super high on it, but I do think that it is an easy commander for just anybody to build and have fun with. Like, this is not a commander where it's hard to have a good time. So that's why I gave it a B, even though it doesn't really excite me that much.
I gave it an A because I do like big dumb creature decks, but I sort of liked how this one sort of incentivizes you to add a sacrifice sub-theme. So like cards that say when you sacrifice, get a bonus, play like greater good, so you can sacrifice those cards to get even more card draw from those things you're throwing away.
That is kind of funny.
I think there's some fun ways to do a little more with it than just big dumb creature. I was gonna say, I like how you're rewarded for playing your commander multiple times, but it doesn't just like easily give itself multiple castings like some of the other commanders do.
Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and put, because I was close enough to an A, we'll go ahead and put Henzi in the top of B. Next up, we have Zul'Dak Void Gorger. This is for 5 generic and a colorless specific, so 6 mana total. 7/4 Eldrazi. colorless spells you cast from your hand with mana value 7 or greater have Cascade. Mean you cascade twice. That means just play a bunch of big, scary, colorless spells. That often means Eldrazi, but it doesn't always mean Eldrazi. But we got B's across the board on this one. I think it's just like, fine. Like, this is another one of those, like, if you're just going to play big, dumb decks, I think there's more interesting options. Like, I really like the deck that Preston built that Tommy now has. That's the Emoti deck with Karuga as the companion. Like, if you're going to play a deck that wants to cascade and have some randomness fun, but also just play big, dumb, scary stuff, like, that seems more interesting. There's also, like, Maelstrom Wanderer. So I think there's more interesting options. And there, if you want to specifically play the colorless stuff, there's no reason you can't play colorless spells in those decks. So this is just like, if you want like an Eldrazi commander, but still want to be colorless instead of like some of the colored options, I guess. So I don't know. I just feel like it's fine.
To me, this card just kind of felt like the first time that I saw this card when it came out in Commander Masters for the precons, I was like, this kind of just feels like Diet the first sliver for Eldrazi, you know? I mean, it does give you Cascade, which is better than just giving stuff Cascade. But it's only for stuff 7 mana or higher, which does mean that in all likelihood, if you play one Eldrazi, 2 more Eldrazi are probably going to show up.
Or you hit mana rocks.
Well, I mean, yeah.
That happened to Tommy when he played this deck on the show. Remember, he was like, all right, here we go. We're going to Cascade. And he's like, 3 and Dynamo. Heck.
But I mean, hey, getting a 3 and Dynamo off, that's not the worst. You get 3 mana out of that thing. And it doesn't enter tapped? Come on. But I just, it's fine. There's better Eldrazi commanders that I would run.
Yeah, I was almost about to give this a C, partly because, like, that deck called itself an Eldrazi deck, but it was actually just more of a colorless deck in general, so it was kind of false advertising. And Zuludok kind of is that as well. I don't actually think Eldrazi is the best thing you do with him. I think you just play an artifact deck if you want the strongest version of this. You just pump out a really huge, strong artifact. You have all your mana rocks there to increase your artifact count, and then you just play stuff that, like, rewards you for having artifacts. I think that's the strongest version of a Zuludok deck you can make, and I feel like it's kind of lame for that reason. So I was almost on C, but if you do build an Eldrazi deck, I think it could be fun.
Yeah, fair enough.
The only rebuttal I have to that is any deck that has Ulamog, oh gosh, why am I blanking on all these Eldrazi names? What? Ulamog, Kozilek, and Emrakul. Any deck with those 3 cards in it, the legal ones that you can play in Commander, you're probably having a good time.
Well, you still
one else
run those
is.
as finishers, but you don't run the smaller Eldrazi as like your cascade hits. That's what you want to do if you want the fun version. The strong version is you still have those as your big wins, along with like Blightsteel and stuff, but then you just have more artifact rewards. That's like the stronger version.
Well, all that said, we'll still have Zuludok averaging out to middle of B. Look at our stacked little B tier here. What do we have next, Jason?
All right. So next up, we have Goshintai of Life's Origin. So Goshintai is 3 and 1 green. It is a legendary enchantment creature. Shrine. It's a 3/4, and it has pay 1 of every color, tap it. Return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then it says, whenever Goshintai of Life's Origin or another non-token shrine enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 colorless shrine enchantment creature token. This is the premier shrine commander that everyone had been looking for. The entire time that shrines existed, it was like, what's a good commander to run these in? And by golly, this is it. We all gave it, no. Preston gave it a B. Morgan and I both gave it an A. I think that shrines are really cool. And because of that first ability, and it being 5 colors, you don't necessarily have to run this as a shrine deck. You could just run it as a 5-color enchantment good stuffs deck. Getting enchantments from your graveyard back onto the battlefield with that ability. You could kind of do like maybe a self-mill theme to fill up your graveyard with a bunch of enchantments that you're bringing back. But I just love the fact that it's a really cool and powerful shrine commander. Because the shrines themselves, like you get as many shrines out as you can, and you're having a good time. And I kind of love that. It almost prevents it from being broken because you really have to build up a huge board state by casting all these different shrines to really get the full effect of this card. So that's kind of why I really liked it. That's why I gave it an A.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I mean, if this was just a 5-color enchantment creature that said get your enchantments back from your graveyard, I would be like, I hate this. I mean, it is nice that like if you just want to play 5-color enchantments, you have this as an option, as a recursive piece in your command zone to get your important enchantments back. That's kind of nice if that's what you want to do. But the fact that it's a strong shrine commander is what's cool, because shrines are cool. And what makes this so powerful is that shrines care about how many other shrines you have. And if you're doing that the fair way, it takes a few turns before you're really going. But if you get Goad Shentai down a little early and then you start building it up, it's giving you more shrines as you're also playing the other shrines. So then when it says each player discards a card for each shrine you have, well, now they're doomed. Or you're dealing the damage, or you're drawing the cards. There's all sorts of cool little shrines. So yeah, and as far as enchantment decks go, this is one of the more interesting archetypes. This is one of the more interesting sub-themes of enchantment. So I'm here for it.
The only reason I'm a little lower than you guys is this is one of those decks where when it's popping off, it can be a little oppressive. But if someone has an answer for it, it can basically just never come back. Like, it is a very much you're all in or you're kind of done for. There's a couple ways to nullify that, but it's one of those decks where, like, I really want to love it, but I've seen it go too hard in both directions a few times when, like, Tommy's played it for me to love it as much as I want to. I still like it.
I guess another knock against it is that these are the kind of decks that they all look the same. Like Tommy's Shrine deck probably looks very similar to every other Shrine deck that exists, because that's just how you build it. So I guess if you're like a hipster and you want like deck uniqueness, that Go Shentai is like probably down a tier or two. But I feel like if you like Shrines, that's fine. So we'll go ahead and put Go Shentai. Yes, we'll go ahead and put Go Shentai down here in A. Yeah, I mean Tommy's version is budget-ish. Like it was like $100 budget when he first built it. He's probably upgraded it a little bit since, but like his mana base is imperfect, but it's still fine. Still fine. What do we have next, Preston?
Next up, we have Marin of Clan Neltoth. For 2, a black and a green, 3/4 human shaman. Whenever another creature you control dies, you get an experience counter. And at the beginning of your end step, choose target creature card in your graveyard. If that card's converted mana cost is less than or equal to the number of experience counters you have, return it to the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. We all gave it an A. It's a fun, graveyard, sacrifice your stuff, bring them back, the classic Golgari thing. But it uses experience counters, which is something they should probably do more often, because I think they're pretty cool, and they just haven't touched them in a long time. Except for that Boros one.
Oh, Athari.
Tommy has. Yeah.
No, I have it. Tommy gifted it to me.
Yeah,
that's right.
For the Christmas episode last year. Yeah, I'm right there with you. High on it. I like this archetype. I like Reanimator or Graveyard kind of shenanigans. I think you're right that experience counters are cool. I'd like to see more of them. And it's also just cool that like this is like an oldish commander. Like this is from Commander 2015, and like still punches up. Like this is a commander that back in the day was very good. It was very good back when it came out, but like it was like kind of holding its own just fine. And I still feel like it punches up in the today's meta of like really just absurd commanders. I still feel like this is like still good.
So I really like this card because it's a commander that a first time like commander player, not someone who's like brand new to Magic, but like someone who's going to play commander for the first time, it can be a fun intro deck to Commander. Because there's a lot of potential for really high power stuff. There's also potential for just making it fair, but having really big and explosive turns, because it doesn't say whenever another non-token creature you control dies. So you could build a deck to where you're making tokens, sacrificing those tokens for value while getting experience counters from them dying, and maybe filling up your graveyard with some of the value that you're getting from sacrificing these creatures. And then being able to just pull big stuff out of your graveyard really quickly because you're able to just give yourself a ton of experience counters all at once. I really think that this is a cool Golgari graveyard commander. I think that this is one of the more fun ones that you can play. But it also has the potential to be incredibly strong and powerful.
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and put Marin up here in the A range. Speaking of Golgari graveyard shenanigans, we have Muldrotha the Gravetide up next, except it's also blue, so Sultai. 6/6 elemental avatar. During each of your turns, you may play up to one permanent card of each permanent type from your graveyard. I love this card, guys. This was the second commander deck I ever built. I still have it together. I don't play it as much as I used to, but I try to keep it up to date, and I pull it out every now and then when I'm feeling a little spicy. I just really like this because you're playing, because it's letting you play one of each type. Like, I think we were talking about this like with Atraxa. You can play a lot of those like cards that are like multiple card types. So you have even more flexibility in what you're hitting from your graveyard. So really fun, really cool. This is the first S I've given in this entire series. And I am definitely biased. I realize it probably shouldn't actually be an S, but that's where I'm at. Nostalgia Baby is a powerful mistress, and then you guys also gave it an A.
It's an A for me because it's stronger than Marin for sure, especially because it's got blue in it. But I could put this at an S because I played against Muldrotha, and you exile somebody's graveyard, which, if to be fair, is, what's going to take out all graveyard decks. Exiling somebody's graveyard and the Muldrotha player just gets really sad. And being that sad player, I can imagine is not a super fun time. But one of my favorite things that you can do in this is looping the card Time Sieve. You guys know what Time Sieve does? You guys don't know what Time Sieve is?
No.
So you do kind of have to have like an artifact sub-theme if you're really going to do this. But it is a 2-mana artifact. It's for a blue and a black, and it says tap, sacrifice 5 artifacts, take an extra turn after this one.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that is really funny. That is like the one knock against Muldrotha. Like, if there's anyone in the comments right now who's being like, no, Muldrotha is not an S, no, it's not an A, it's because there's annoying loops you can do with it. Because there's also like a couple cards that say there's like enchantments that say like the first spell that someone else casts now gets countered when you sacrifice this enchantment. There's another one that says that same thing, except everyone else gets to draw 3 when it happens. So there's like annoying things that you can keep looping. There's removal things you can keep looping. There's Spore Frog. There's definitely annoying things that you can do. And that's like the biggest knock against Muldrotha. And I do have Spore Frog in my version, but I mean, for the most part, it's just like value stuff. And I don't know. I just think it's cool. I think graveyard decks are cool, and I like that it lets me play with some weird cards I might not play otherwise because I'm trying to get the flexibility of artifacts and enchantments and all that.
And this lets you play with Rhystic Study.
I do not have Rhystic Study in my Muldrotha deck.
All right, I'm moving my grade down to a D.
No!
Dude, you're messing up with that because, like, think about it. You just play Rhystic Study, you draw a bunch of stuff into your hand, you don't have any of those no maximum hand size cards, so you have to discard, and now you can put whatever you want into your graveyard from your hand. It's beautiful.
Jason, you're being too small brained right now. The real answer is I have Mystic Remora in the deck. Because then you'd never pay the cumulative upkeep costs, and you just keep recasting it from your graveyard.
Oh my gosh, I was so smooth brain there.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and put
really
Muldrotha.
try to talk me down here.
We'll put Muldrotha up here in A before Preston has a chance to actually change his grade. All right. Jason, what do we got next?
Next up, we have Atlapalani Nest Tender. For 1, a red, a green, and a white, it is a legendary creature, human shaman. It's a 2/3, and it has pay 2 generic mana and tap it. Created a 0/1 green egg creature token with Defender. Then it says, whenever an egg you control dies, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest onto the bottom of your library in a random order. So I definitely had to give this one an A. Preston and Morgan both gave it a B. Now, I'm probably going to be right there with you guys as far as like the points that you're going to make on this card. But I had to bump it up to an A at least because, I mean, y'all know me, and I do love flavorful cards. The flavor of this card design is actually perfect. It's actually perfect. You're cracking open these eggs that you're making, and you're getting really big creatures out of it. Like
I'd be more interested in an omelet.
That's actually that's a good joke. That's solid. That's solid. But this is no joking matter. Atlapalani is a cool commander, and the flavor there just shot me over the moon, and I had to give it an A. It's not an S though, but it's an A.
If it was really flavorful, it would only get dinosaurs, actually.
No, it doesn't say dinosaur egg. It just says whenever an egg.
She is tending dinosaur eggs on Ixalan.
Literally.
Yes, but who says that Blightsteel Colossus didn't come from an egg?
Someone who knows more about the lore than we do, I'm sure, has said that. Well, actually, they probably didn't have to say it, Jason, because they assume people knew that. So Atlapalani is like actually very, very strong. Every single time I've played against Atlapalani, we go to game 2 and the guy will say, I'm going to play something else because I felt too strong. Like every single time I've seen Atlapalani, that's what the player said who's played it. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Now, the reason I actually almost gave this a C is because this is just a good stuff creature deck, and I'm really bored of those. But the reason I gave it a B is because the novelty of the eggs is kind of fun. There's really interesting things you can do. It is a tap ability, but there's a lot of ways to untap your commander. You are in green. You're going to have absurd amounts of mana. You also are in red, so I guess you could mana geyser and then have like an even more absurd amount of mana because you're just going to use it all right then. You'll have Seedborn Muse, so you can do it on other people's turns, make it just a ton of eggs. You're in green and white. You can double those tokens. And then you can play sack outlets and go burr. So there are actually like, yeah. So there are like really interesting lines that you can play with it. So it is probably stronger than a lot of just the Naya good stuff creature decks that exist, but it's also a little bit more interesting unless you play cards that you wouldn't necessarily always play in those style of decks. So I'm here for it. It's fine.
Yeah, I probably would have maybe given it a C because of the generic versions of the list where it's just good big creatures. But I've seen enough people do interesting things like with some tribal decks. Like obviously I've seen people do it as a dinosaur deck, but I've also seen a couple other creature types. Like Beast, I think, is one I've seen before, and there's a few others where they did something a little more specific. I think maybe I've seen a dragon one, like get out dragons out of the eggs. So there's a couple fun ways to build it, but it is very strong.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and put it somewhere up here in the top of the B tier. All right, what do we got next, Preston?
All right. Next up, we have Teysa Karlov for 2 a white and a black, 2/4 Human Advisor. If a creature dying causes the triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time, and creature tokens you control have Vigilance and Lifelink. You both gave it an A, I gave it a B. I feel like this is a pretty generic version of what these sort of aristocrat decks want to do. I don't hate it. It's not like overpowered or anything, but I feel like there are more interesting ones to me that want to do this sort of thing.
I think that's perfectly valid. And I've used that line of reasoning for a lot of these. Like when we talk about just like good creature decks and stuff, like I've used that line of reasoning that, there's more interesting versions. And that's probably true. I think I've been a little bit more forgiving of Teysa Karlov because I think this is a more interesting deck style to me personally than like big stompy decks. With that said, even if you're playing a different commander this style of deck, you might have Teysa Karlov in the 99 of that deck anyways.
Yeah, I probably
because
would.
It's just that good. Doubling up your death triggers is so good. And then even if you're not doing like aristocrat stuff, which you probably are, that's probably the best thing to do. If you could play it in a token deck, giving all your tokens lifelink and vigilance is awesome, because that means you're gaining life, you're getting to survive into the long game, and you're leaving up blocks while you're gaining your damage. So it works in a couple different ways, and it works the 99 of a lot of decks. So I feel like this is a solid A for me. This is like a solid 99 and solid commander.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Morgan. I run this in Thalisse specifically for that second ability, that giving my tokens vigilance and lifelink. I don't have a ton of death payoff things that are going to get double triggers in that deck. I do have some sack outlets, but that's not the same thing. But that giving your tokens vigilance and lifelink is so huge. Especially if you're making a ton of tokens, because now you can just send 5 tokens out and just don't care if they die or whatever. And any of the ones that get through, they'll still be able to block whenever your opponent's turns are happening. I think that this card is really cool, and it's definitely something really fun that you could build around as a commander.
Heck yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and put Teysa Karlov somewhere in the lower part of the A tier. My turn to raid. Next up, we have Ren and Ciri Inseparable. This is for 1 and Naya, 4/4 dog cat. Whenever you cast a dog spell, you create a 1/1 green cat creature token. And whenever you cast a cat spell, you create a 1/1 white dog creature token. And then you can pay Naya and tap it. Ren and Ciri deals damage to any target equal to the number of dogs you control. You gain life equal to the number of cats you control. So, where do we have for grades on this? I gave it a B. Jason gave it a B. President gave it an S. So first off, this is a me problem, and I'm trying to get over this, guys. We were kind of joshing around about this last week. When I see 1/1 tokens, I really just want to play Skull Clamp, but I know that I can't Skull Clamp a dog. Like, I know that's like frowned upon in civilized society, but I want to do it. That's not why I gave it a B. The reason I gave it a B is because casuals are really drawn to this, and I feel like they shouldn't be. Because a lot of people aren't equally dog and cat fans. Like, they're usually like, I'm a cat person, but now you're playing your cats and you're making dog tokens. And then vice versa. I'm a dog person, but now I also have to deal with cats. And like, that's not necessarily what you signed up for. Maybe you're willing to overlook that. But then the upkeep of having to play token decks is, while it's kind of fun for new players, it is mentally more taxing, and I actually don't think that they're the best entry point for new players. So while this is like, it looks like something that casuals would love, it's actually like, I think, not the best option. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
I would say that you might actually be surprised with how good these decks are.
No, I'm not saying they're not good. I'm just saying that for flavor reasons and for ease of entry and casual appeal and the fact that I shouldn't Skull Clamp the tokens and stuff like that.
One thing I'll say about this is that every time I look at this card, I always think of that line from Ghostbusters where Bill Murray goes, "Cats and dogs are living together, mass hysteria." That's really what it feels like when you play against this deck. One thing that absolutely can never be overlooked is that last ability. You would be surprised how many times that last ability just kills somebody out of nowhere because they forgot that Ren and Ciri can do that. Like, someone's at like 5-6 life and they're like, all right, I'm going to try to like come back from this and win. And they cast something, and as soon as they cast that spell, the player's like, I'm going to tap Ren and Ciri and deal 7 damage to your face. And it's like, oh, no. But I get tired of seeing Ren and Ciri. I've had several run-ins with it because my sister has this deck, and it's just, I'm tired of seeing it. But it is a good deck, so I had to give it a B.
So a couple things. One, I probably would have given this an A, but the flip version from that one secret layer they did, that the art on both of those on both sides is so good, I bumped it up to an S for that. Two, this is not for dog people or cat people. This is for animal lovers. Get good. Stop trying to make them fight. All animals are beautiful, and you need to stop being a bad person. And three, who doesn't like dogs and cats? And making them together. And you gain life, you deal damage. It's fun. It's cute. It's awesome. Could be a hater, Morgan.
I'm not being a hater. I feel like all my points were very valid, and Jason does too.
Also, you shouldn't skull clamp it because then you just make run in Siri worse. That's why you don't run it.
No, because what's better than drawing cards, Preston?
Dealing damage and gaining life.
Okay, well, Ren Siri is going here in the bottom of A. What do we have next, Jason?
Next up, we have Corvold, Fakehurst King. For 2, a black, a red, and a green, it is a legendary creature dragon noble. It's a 4/4 with flying, and it says whenever Corvold Fakehurst King enters the battlefield or attacks, sacrifice another permanent. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Corvold and draw a card. This card is so good. It's so good. It's so insanely strong. It is incredibly strong. You see that first part and you're like, oh man, I gotta have something to sacrifice every single time I attack with him or whenever he enters. Like, oh man, that's so much. I don't want to sack my stuff. But then you actually play it and you do it a couple times and you start looking around at your board and you're like, I don't care about any of this. You're fine with sacrificing all of the things. Because you get so much value from Corvold. Corvold gets big and he kills people really, really, really quickly. So I gave Corvold an A, and you guys both gave it a B. I think that this card is so cool. It's so much fun to play, so much fun to pilot. And here's the thing. If they don't have the ability to sacrifice their stuff, and you just blow everything up, kind of takes the Corvold player down a little bit. But most of the time when Corvold's at the table, he's probably becoming the arch enemy.
Yeah. So as far as like cool factor, I would be tempted to give Corvold an A because I like sacrifice decks. I like that he's a big dragon that can kill people with commander damage. So I'm here for that, except for the fact that this is it's so strong. It's so oppressively strong and goes burr so fast because the fact that you make your commander bigger and you get to draw a card when you crack your fetch lands is insane. And you're in a green deck, which means you have ways to like loot, like at multiple land drops a turn. You can play your fetch lands from your graveyards in some ways. Like, man, this shouldn't be allowed. And yeah, it's really easy to just get a ton of value. There's a lot of like free sack outlets and stuff. So if you have like a go wide, you maybe have like tokens or something. You do like free sack outlets on that. It reads cool, but in practice it plays way too strong. So I couldn't give it anything higher than a B.
The first time you see a Corvold deck, you're like, oh man, that's really cool. The 100th time you've seen it, you have the suicide hotline saved on your phone. Miserable deck to play against. It's never fun to play against. Fun to play, I'm sure. And I have decks like that. But I don't have this one, so I only gave it a B.
I used to have a Grixis Thraxamundar deck that was a sacrifice deck. And I decided to retire just because I had it for a long time. I wanted to build a new Grixis deck, whatever. And I started looking at the pieces and be like, I bet I could build Corvold. And then I put together like a rough draft of just like cards I had laying around. And even that, like a suboptimal version of Corvold, still would have been like super oppressive. So I decided
with a different color.
Yeah. Cut blue, add green. Turns out that's the right choice to make in Casual Commander. So we'll be putting Corvold down here in B if I can get my mouse to work. Here we go. Whee! All right, what do we got next, Preston?
All right, next up we have Gearson Starn Kelamorph. For a 1, a blue, and a red. It's a 3/2 Tyranid human with Ward 2. And then whenever another source you control deals exactly 1 damage to a permanent or player, Gearson Starn Kellamorph deals 2 damage to that permanent or player. I gave it an S, you gave it an A, and Jason all the way down at a C. Jason,
What?
why don't you think this card is cool?
I'm not a fan of these pinging decks.
Why?
I just.
But it's the 1-2-3 combo.
I get bored. I get bored real easy just seeing it like, all right, you played 5 things, you dealt 15 damage. Like,
Well, that's how you make sure you're paying attention in the game, right? Like, make sure that people are staying off their phones, they're not dirtling around with their graveyard or something. You make sure they're paying attention by playing these pinging effects.
hey, you leave me alone when I'm on my phone when you're not doing important things. You leave me alone. Just doesn't excite me. Just doesn't tickle my pickle. So I'm not very high on it.
But Jason, what if you give him Death Touch and Infect? He's so cool.
Oh.
How are you giving him Death Touch and Infect in red blue?
There's equipments that do it.
Sure. Say that about every commander that deals damage to say that about Niv Mizzet. Like, that's not interesting to me. You can give Death Touch and Infect to a bunch of stuff that makes it broken and OP. And if you're adding something that's not in the commander's colors to make it better, that's not super interesting to me. So it's already a not very interesting commander that has a not very interesting ability that gets better with not very interesting cards. So
I was thinking that it was interesting that this is the, according to EDHRec, top Izzet commander, when Izzet is like traditionally known as like the Spellslinger color pair. But I don't think that's a statement worth making, because I think this is still secretly a Spellslinger deck, because there's so many cards that say when you cast an instant or a sorcery, deal 1 damage. And so I think that's what you do. I think you play a bunch of those, and then you're still just actually a Spellslinger deck. So I think it doesn't look like a Spellslinger deck, but I think that's one of the better ways you could build this is that.
Yeah, a lot of the spells you want to play in this are the instants and sorceries that are like deal 1 damage to your opponent and all their creatures. So yeah, it's definitely a Spellslinger deck.
All right, where is this guy going? B? We'll put him somewhere in like, I don't know, here-ish, sure, whatever, something like that. All right, we got 3 more to go. Next up, we have Animar, Soul of Elements. This is an old school one, guys. This is Commander 2011. Is that OG Commander? That's like the first ones, right? Commander 2011. This is for a blue, a red, and a green. It's a 1/1 elemental. And I'm dying. Protection from white and from black. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. And creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each +1/+1 counter on Animar. So it's definitely just like a teamer big stuff creature deck. There are interesting things you can do with it. Like you can do stuff with the +1/+1 counters so that you're cheating bigger things in faster. There's things that there's hardened scale effects that you get extra +1/+1 counters. You can proliferate. You're in blue and green, which are both great colors for that. You can go artifact creatures. You can go Eldrazi. You could go Storm, if you like that. This is probably a decent Storm commander, if you're storming off with colorless creatures. But a lot of the times people just play it as good stuff creature deck, and I think it's a decent option for that. It's old school. It's kind of what the OG. So I would still give it a B. But you guys both gave it an A. I could maybe bump up to an A.
It's big stuff creatures in blue, which I think is pretty fun. You don't normally think of that with blue, besides maybe Urza making those huge constructs, but for the most part, green is pretty obvious, red kind of, maybe white, but doing it in blue is pretty fun. And I have a tiny leaders version of Animar. It's fun. I have a version of Animar on MTGO. Pretty fun. Doing the colorless creature thing is a good time, and it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think that Teamer is a pretty okay color for creature decks. I think that there's probably a decent amount of teamer creature decks out there, but Animars to me is probably the best of them. It's just so much fun. It's a cool thing, and it's not super oppressive because Animar doesn't really have any type of evasion outside of the white and the black.
Well, that's a pretty big deal, though.
It is a big deal because those are the
colors.
two best removal colors, yes. But it doesn't like have indestructible or hexproof. It came out before Ward was a thing. It doesn't have Shroud or anything like that. So you can still target it with stuff. Like even if somebody makes it really big, you can still target it with a bounce spell and bounce it back to their hand, and then they lose all the counters, and now they have to start all the way over. Or when you bounce it back to their hand, you know, and I mean, even the white and the black board wipes will still hit Animar. So I think that Animar is just as fair as it is strong. So that's why I thought it was a pretty good A tier commander. It was honestly, thinking about it now, I don't know why I didn't put him as an S. I don't know if I want to change it now, but I like Animar. Animar's a cool commander. Because think about it, you could do like Animorphs.
Does that work?
Yeah, that works. Yeah, that works. What do you mean? Of course it works.
Just
you can
balance out each other. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and put Animar somewhere in like the middle of A. Jason, lead us through your last card of the day.
Last one that I'm going to talk about is Aragorn the Unifier. It is a red, green, white, and a blue for a legendary creature human noble. It's a 5/5, and it says whenever you cast a white spell, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Whenever you cast a blue spell, scry 2. Whenever you cast a red spell, Aragorn the Unifier deals 3 damage to target opponent. And whenever you cast a green spell, target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. Dude, he's the true king of Gondor, dude. Like, I mean, what more do I need to say? He is sweet. He's got a dope ability. He only costs 4, so he's going to be able to get out pretty early. You're in green, so you're going to be able to put your lands out there and probably fix your mana early enough to that you cast him on turn 4 consistently. And then just everything else that you're going to be playing the rest of the game, you're going to get some sort of benefit off of. You know, you play 2 or 3 green spells in a row, and all of a sudden, 3 creatures get +4/+4, or 1 creature gets +12/+12. You can scry, so you can manipulate the top of your deck. You're building up creatures. Whenever you cast, your white stuff, Aragorn's dealing damage to creatures dealing damage to players. There's a lot going on here. So I gave it an A. Preston gave it an A, and Morgan all the way down there at B.
Oh, don't say all the way down there. And right now I'm changing it to an A.
This is the true king of Gondor.
I'm changing it to an A.
This is the true king of Gondor, dude, and you gave him a B.
Okay, so the reason I changed it to an A. The reason I originally had it as B is because it reads as just like, here's generically something that each of these colors cares about. Now just play the good stuff. Like, that's how it reads. Like, if this was not a Lord of the Rings card, I think that's what people would do with it. And that sounds so incredibly boring. Not that it would be bad, just boring. But you're right. It does get cool points for being Lord of the Rings. And one of the more interesting things you could do with it is just be like, we're going to just take all of the good guys from Lord of the Rings, put them in a deck. That might be kind of fun. But there's actually like, you can actually kind of like focus in on one of those abilities way more than the others, which is really interesting. Like, you could build like Aragorn Burn, like most of your spells are red. You could play a bunch of the scry payoffs and play a bunch of blue spells. You could be a token deck and really go in on white. So you could like really hone in on a specific color if there's one specific one you're really interested in. I've seen the green one, like they just like commander damage people with Aragorn because you just play a bunch of green spells. And then also if you cast multicolor stuff, you get all of those modes, which is really spicy. So I think there's enough like I think if you just play the good stuff, I think that's incredibly boring, and I would give that like a C. But if you do like any of those other things I just listed, I'm like, that's an A. That's cool.
I think if you try to focus on 3 or all 4 colors, I don't like the deck that much. if you pick specifically any two, like whichever two are your favorite, and most of your deck is those two colors, I think that makes for a very fun deck. Like any of the two combinations, I think work well together, and you could just use the other two colors as sort of support. Like maybe you want an Is It deck that just has some good board wipes and some green ramp. Like that's fun. You can do a lot of different things like that. But I think you want to take whichever two are your favorite, make that like 80% of your deck and just go wild.
I'm here for that.
I don't know. I think the most fun way to play it is to play as many 3-color spells that you could fit into this deck as possible. Just get as much value out of it as you can.
So you would go like the you would go like the multicolor spells direction then.
Yep. Just I would try probably to focus more on like maybe Naya. Just because I think the blue Scry 2 is not the strongest one on there. But I think being able to have him deal 3 damage to an opponent, make a creature bigger, and make a creature, I think being able to do that pretty reliably, even multiple times in a turn, I think that's gonna where you're going to have the most fun with this card.
I can get behind that. We'll go ahead and put him third from the top because no one gave it an S. And these other two guys
he's got to go above Muldrotha. He's the true king of Gondor.
Yeah, it goes above Muldrotha.
Fine, I could go above Muldrotha. I technically rebuttal this, but President, lead us through the last card of today.
All right, finally we have Gyata, Font of Hope. For 1 and a white, it's a 2/2 angel with flying and vigilance. Each other angel you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 count on it for each angel you already control, and you can tap it to add a white, spend this mana only to cast an angel spell. You two gave it a C, I gave it a B. If you want to play angels in Commander, this is who you're picking. Like, you just are. None of the other ones are better options than this. Mana ramp, cheap compared to all the other angels, and it gives them all a boost the more you play.
Yeah, I think it's really boring. Did you say what the grades were? I'm sorry.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Okay. I just think it's boring. Is the problem? Like the angel decks that exist? A lot of them are you're playing these like big, scary, like overcosted angels that are just like medium effects, but you're doing it for the cool factor, right? And the benefit of Gyata is that it's letting you get to them faster. And that's why it's so popular. But it's really lame that it itself is not a big splashy angel. And there are cool angels in other colors. So the fact that it's mono white is also like kind of bummy. I'm not saying this should have been one of those 5-color options. I don't think there's enough support in angel. I think there are angels in all 5 colors, but I don't think there's like enough reason to make it a 5-color commander. But it could be like Mardu or something, but I don't know. I just feel like it's just kind of boring. It itself is not a big scary angel, and it's restricting you to mono white.
Yeah, honestly, I don't have very much to say about it because you kind of hit the nail on the head, Morgan. When I first saw this card, the first time I ever read this card, I literally said to myself out loud, boring. And then I moved on because this card is not exciting. Yeah, sure, it's probably the best mono white angels commander out there. I don't care about that. I do not care about that at all.
I mean, angel decks are cool.
Care about
I think
it.
angel.
I'm glad the angel players have it, though. I'm just excited for them because they needed this. They have been struggling for 20 years.
That's not even true because Kelly of the Vast
not.
exists.
Yeah.
You don't play the angels in Kalia. You care about the dragons.
But if you want to play angels, it's more interesting to play Kalia because it gives you access to 2 other colors. I do think that Gyata is still better because it's 2 mana ramp in your command zone, and it's also making your angels bigger, but it's also not that interesting. All right, anyways, gonna be down here in the C tier.
Hang on
our first and last commanders of the day.
So you're telling me that Avacyn Angel of Hope, not a good angels commander. Archangel of Thune, not a good angels commander.
No, those are good
Archangel
angels.
of Thune's not legendary. Never mind.
Those are good angels. They're not good angel commanders.
No, you want them in the deck, but no, you can't have your 8-cost commander be like, oh man, this is the best option. That's bad. It's mono white, Jason. That sucks.
Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight. Not good.
All right. Well, that wraps up part 4 of 5 of our top 100 commanders tier list series that we've been doing. Hope you guys have enjoyed the ride. We have 20 more commanders to look at. The top 20 on EDHRec, that will be in part 5. That is either going to be the first or second episode that we knock out in the new year of 2025. We have 2 more episodes left this year. We're going to be knocking those out the next couple of weeks. And then also make sure you tune in for our Christmas episode of our Commander gameplay series, because those are always a lot of fun. And then we'll be taking a couple weeks off for the holidays, and then we'll come back, we'll knock out the rest of this tier list and get back to bringing you guys awesome content. So make sure you subscribe, check out the other videos coming over the next couple weeks. Check out, I should have said this at the beginning of the video, but if you haven't seen parts 1, 2, and 3 of this, you should go watch those. Do that. There's a button for you to click on to go watch those right now. Go click on it. Click it right now. Okay, bye.